On the 18th of November, some Torah-observant Jews in the Hanov synagogue and West Synagogue were praying Shacharis, the daily morning prayer. The silence of their prayer was shattered by two jihadists who knew the rhythm of the congregation and butchered four unarmed rabbis and a brave Druze policeman who sought to intervene. One of the men in Hanov, Yaakov Amos, was in the middle of his prayer called Sim Shalom, which means grant peace. As part of every prayer service, thrice daily ritual asks God to grant peace everywhere, goodness and blessing, grace, loving kindness and mercy to us all. His call for worldwide compassion and peace was answered by evil murder. These two jihadists entered this house of prayer brandishing guns and a meat cleaver. They slaughtered 5 and injured 7 other worshippers. The PFLP, the second largest part of the Palestinian Liberation Organisation of Mr Abbas, took credit for this attack, but it was probably actually organised by the new Hamas faction that is based in Turkey. A debate we had in this parliament at one of the Friendship Group meetings just this week. A dear Australian-born friend of mine, Arnold Roth, pointed out that the slaughter of these unarmed rabbis at prayer had nothing to do with the grievances about the Temple Mount. Most of the ultra-Orthodox Jews in the Hanov synagogue, indeed most ultra-Orthodox Jews, do not subscribe to the view that one ought to visit the Holy Temple Mount or the Haram al-Sharif, as the Arabs call it, because one might trample on the Holy of Holies, the old temple that stood there a millennia ago. It has nothing to do with occupation. Hanov is in the far west of Jerusalem, far away from the 1967 borders. It had nothing to do with settlements. No Arab or Muslim had ever made their home where Hanov stood. It had nothing to do with oppressing Arabs, as at least one of the two murderers is reported to have lived in the neighbourhood grocery just down from the synagogue, supporting himself and others from that source. It's certainly no dimension of getting back at the Israeli military, as the victims were men engaged in full-time learning and Torah who don't participate in military service. The site of the killings, a Haredi synagogue, is not emblematic of what Israel stands for in the Arab mind. It's emblematic speaker of what Jews represent, especially the torrent of incitement that must be one of the issues that we deal with eventually when a two-state solution comes about. The sermons, the cartoons, the video clips, I think they've endlessly been shown to members of this parliament. They're intolerable and must be addressed if there's any peace treaty to be arrived at between people. Now, Speaker, all acts of terrorism are barbaric, with the murder today of unarmed Kenyan mine workers, the slaughter of non-Muslim Yazidis or Muslim Shias, but there's something unspeakably evil about murdering 4 holy men immersed in prayer. Every member of this House holds that all Australians have the right to freedom of worship without fear. It's a violation both aesthetically and ethically repugnant to all Australians to be involved in an act like this. When a Jewish extremist killed Muslim worshippers, I'm very proud to say the Prime Minister of Israel excommunicated him from the people of Israel, as did the Chief Rabbinate, for his heinous actions. No mainstream section of Israeli society attempted to explain, let alone justify, his acts. Yes, Mr Abbas made a perfunctory condemnation of it under pressure from Secretary Kerry, but if one looks at the Facebook of the Palestinian Authority, the statements of its religious affairs advisor, they're all in sympathy for the terrorists. Indeed, Speaker, I have to regret to report to you that the Jordanian Parliament, indeed its Speaker, held prayers for the 2 murderers. It's very interesting to see both Secretary Kerry, on behalf of the American government, like the Australian government, and indeed our opposition leader Bill Shorten, condemned these attacks. The member for Maribyrnong said, "Nothing can justify senseless violence against innocent people going about their worship. Our thoughts are with the victims and the families of those who were killed and injured in this horrific attack." Speak up when one's trying to organise a two-state solution peace between parties, incitement and this kind of horrific killing and support for it afterwards by mainstream Palestinian sources has to be addressed.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. I call the honourable